Maine's Democratic primary field is growing as the party looks to take on Republican Senator Susan Collins. Graham Plattner, a 40-year-old oyster farmer and Army and Marine veteran, announced his bid for the seat. He's running on a platform that includes universal health care and housing affordability. If Plattner proves to be a strong enough candidate, he could oust Collins, who's seen as the most vulnerable Republican in the Senate facing voters next year. Joining us now, deputy editor for the Mid-Coast Villager newspaper, Alex Seitz-Wald. He might look familiar to you because he spent years covering national politics here with us at NBC News. My friend, it is good to see you. Let's talk about Alex Plattner, who's completely unknown and untested. He does have some veteran hired hands behind him, people who have been good at getting these sort of plain-spoken candidates elected. I'm thinking of the folks that backed John Fetterman and worked with Ruben Gallego. But how is he being received on the ground in Maine right now as a relative unknown?
Yeah, Ali, and thanks for having me. My first time back since leaving NBC to be a small town newspaper editor in Maine, midcoastvillager.com. I got to plug it. Look, so Collins is easily the most vulnerable Republican senator facing re-election next year. Democrats so far haven't found their candidate. A lot of them have been really hoping for Janet Mills, the governor, to get in. She has not. She's been kind of non-committal. So that's left this opening for an outsider, somebody like Plattner, who was basically unheard of. Even here, I'm the next county over in Maine from him, and people didn't really know him. They know his wife because she went to high school in my area, but they didn't know him. But he has just kind of exploded on the scene. I heard from somebody on a local school board that he was the talk of the meeting last night. A couple of people said they had already donated to him. Veteran, young, oyster farmer. There's a huge aquaculture industry booming in Maine right now. Harbor master. He's the kind of guy that a lot of people in coastal Maine feel like they know, even if they don't actually know him. So, I think Mills would still be the favorite if she gets in. Collins is very strong. But regardless, I think he's going to get a lot of attention and a lot of focus for this message he has about standing up for the working class of all parties, being able to reach across the aisle to the kinds of guys he works with on the boat ramp every day.
Yeah, dig in on the message that he's expected to have there, because when you talk about that message of affordability, I feel like that has really been the through line through a lot of these races across the country that we've seen Democratic candidates be able to really take and harness. I mean, most recently, people talk about it in New York. But is that the right message for this race as you talk with your friends and neighbors there in Maine?
Absolutely. I mean, one of the big things he talked about is housing, which has just become incredibly expensive here in coastal Maine. They're just like it is in a lot of the country. Costs are going up. That's the thing. He says, people that he grew up with can't afford to live here anymore. So I think he has tapped into something there. Rural health care, like a lot of parts of the country, hospitals are closing down. But it's a very populist, very fiery message that's sort of not traditionally partisan. And I think that has a lot of appeal here where, we've elected an independent senator and Angus King, independent governors. There's a long tradition of kind of bucking both parties. Of course, Susan Collins puts herself firmly in that position. And he's a guy who's not afraid to criticize the Democratic Party, too. So I do think that's the kind of message that could appeal and really rooted, as he talks about constantly. And by the way, I was blown away. I mean, for a guy who had no political experience, when I got on the phone with him 2 days ago, I was blown away by just how fully formed his political message and ability to speak was. It's rooted in, the kind of experience of somebody who works with their hands every day, who works around people who work with their hands every day. And I think that's something that Democrats all across the country have sort of lost touch with, or have had a difficult time reconnecting with.
Yeah, we talk about the authenticity factor in Democratic messaging a lot, and it kind of sounds like that's the thing that you're really picking up on the most. I think the other side of this coin, of course, is the Susan Collins of it all. She has been in vulnerable positions before. Democrats have invested heavily against her in her last re-election bid, and still she came out on top. But I think that you have a sense that she might be stronger than I think a lot of people in New York and D.C. that are watching this race might suspect. Talk a little bit about the Collins prospects here.
Yeah, Ali, absolutely. I mean, I think part of the reason that Janet Mills or other big name Democrats haven't gotten in the race so far is because Collins is seen as so strong here. I mean, she's become kind of the white whale for Democrats. They've run against her. They've spent tens of millions of dollars, never ousted her. Last time, she crushed her Democratic opponent, won by almost 9 percentage points, despite being outspent. Her Democrat outspent her 2-1, and she still won. So people are not eager to run against her, and I don't blame them. She's the kind of person who, she's not flashy. She doesn't hold a lot of public events, but she is talking to people constantly behind the scenes. And in a small state, those kinds of personal relationships really go far. I always hear from people who, I was just texting with Susan, or I just got off the phone with Susan. It just feels like she's kind of omnipresent here. And that really goes a long way. People feel like they know her. So I think you're going to defeat her, you would need, all the usual things: money, name ID, compelling candidate. But I also think you're going to need a compelling reason to vote against her, because in general, people seem, fairly happy with her. And I haven't detected any kind of major sea change since 2020 of, a rebellion against her.
Incumbency is a powerful thing. Alex Seitzwald, I'm so glad that you were back with us first. I have a feeling you and I are going to be talking a lot, because this is a marquee race, and I know you're going to be all over it. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thanks, Allie.